Hello there. Today we're talking about solving absolute value equations. So after you watch this video, you should be able to find all the solutions to an absolute value equation, and then you should also know when there are no solutions, because that happens sometimes also. So it's important to know when you're not going to get any answers, but it's also important to know when you do get answers. So let's jump right in here. So we want to know when the absolute value of some number plus 7 equals 12. So a little refresher about absolute value. Okay, the absolute value is the distance from a central point. Right, so if this is your central point, I want to know when I am 12 units away, right? That's what that 12 means. So I can go to the right 12 units, but I can also go to the left 12 units, and I am still 12 units away. Right? I can go up or I can go down, but those aren't really okay in a two-plane graph. So we can go right 12 or we can go left 12. Okay, so I need x plus 7 to be equal to positive 12, but then I also need x plus 7 to be equal to negative 12. Okay, so this is how we do. We set up two equations. The x plus 7 is equal to positive 12, or your x plus 7 equals negative 12. Okay, and then we solve both of these, and we get negative 19, or we get positive 5. Okay, so these two numbers, when we start here, right, when we plug them in and add 7 to them and take its absolute value, that gives us 12. Okay, so once again, you either set it equal, well, you set it equal to both the positive and the negative. Okay, two separate equations for absolute value. So let's move on. So how we have a little bit more complicated, right? Here's our absolute value thing, but now we have this plus 6 hanging out. So we need to first get the absolute value by itself before we can split this into our two equations. That's not right. That's better. So now we have the absolute value equal to 13, so we can take this thing in the middle, okay, the absolute value of, so 2x plus minus 5 equals negative 13, or 2x minus 5 equals positive 13. Okay, always set it equal to the negative and set it equal to the positive. So now let's solve them. And I get x is negative 4 or x is positive 9. Okay, so once again, you get your absolute value by itself, and then you split it into two equations. Okay, so here's a doozy. Here is your absolute value thing. It is being surrounded by a plus 7, and it is being surrounded by a times by 3. So we have to get rid of all this stuff first before we can even think about splitting this into two equations. So we subtract 7, that gives us negative 6. Now we divide by 3, and that gives us negative 2. Okay, so this should have some alarms going off in your head, and you say, wait a second. I remember, if absolute value is the distance from an object, distance must always be positive. So if ever we get an absolute value equal to a negative number, right, that's when we're going to have no solution. Because the distance from one place to another can never be negative. Even if you're walking backwards, the distance is still positive. So if we ever get the case where we have an absolute value equation, right, with the absolute value bars equals a negative number, then your answer is no solution. There are no numbers in the world that are going to ever make that true. Okay, so that's the end. Now you know how to solve an absolute value equation, and also when that has no solution.